It's where history and prophecy meet. And so that's basically what it's about. And it's a 7-mile walk from Jerusalem to Emmaus, also known as the modern-day town of Moza. And we go into what that means. So there's basically 7 chapters with mile markers. They're called mile marker 1. It's a first mile from Jerusalem and so forth. And we're going to go through exactly what Yeshua told him, what Moses and the prophets had to say about him. And so we're going to look at Moses, and we look at Jeremiah and Ezekiel and Daniel and Yeshua himself, and then what John said in the book of Revelation. And it flipped my whole worldview upside down. It's been a year and a half of aha moments. I don't know how to put it any other way than that. But
right side up.
Right side up. It's flipped it right side up. Thank you, Joel. Yes, it did. It flipped it right side up. And God's kingdom it's true. It's confirmed. He's rolling his kingdom right out underneath our noses. You're walking in his kingdom today. That's why you're here. So we'll get started. Joel, are you ready?
Yeah.
Am I on? Okay, good. All right. So we're going to be doing basically chapter 34 today. I think we'll start at the end of 33. But Jacob is now home again with his family. And believe it or not, his trouble has only begun. How many of you have heard Jacob's trouble? I want you to know that in all of Jacob's whole life, and I can't remember how many years it is, he lived 137, is what I want to say. Something like that. Only the last 18 years of his life. And he lived them outside the land of Israel. But the last 18 years of his life were happy. Okay? So Jacob's whole life is a life of trouble. But God's people's whole life can be a life of trouble until we find him. Right? So things don't make a whole lot of sense until we do. So anyway, we'll get started with that. And I found some pictures from the family album. We'll just read, here's Jacob and Rachel. Here's Leah over here and the 2 handmaidens. Here's a picture of him and with Grandpa Laban back in Padan Aram. Here they are in Shechem. Here they are after they've met with Uncle Esau. And here's Jacob and Esau when they met again. They hadn't seen each other in about 20 years. And so we'll start with that. So in this episode, with Life with Jacob, Jacob has a new name. His new name is Israel. And he has recently separated himself and his family from Esau. That's what we talked about last week. And in obedience to God's instructions, he brought his family back to the land of promise. And this family was to have a very unique role among the nations. It still does. Anybody who's a member of of Israel today, raise your hand. Either you're natural born or grafted in, it doesn't matter. If you're part of his family, you're part of Israel. He had to face, so this is what he's had to face in the back in the last few years. He had to face his father-in-law, who didn't want him to leave, remember? He had to face his brother, who wanted him to come with him down to Seir. And he had to wrestle with God, who gave him a new name, Israel. And now he's going to face his neighbors, who want to intermarry with his family. Okay? So he's just a guy. He's a dad of a large family. He's got a very big God. And he's just beginning to get to know him. So I found this picture. I think this is... You have to kind of turn things around a little bit. It took me a few seconds to realize that the orientation is opposite of what we're used to looking at. So this is north, down here at the bottom, right? Here's the Jordan River going south. So this is actually south of the Sea of Galilee. Galilee's down here, okay? So here's the Dead Sea up there. If you look way up there at the top, there's the Red Sea, where Lot is today. So he came down the Jabbok River. This is where he had his he had his situation where Laban had caught up with him, where he wrestled with God, Peniel, the face of God. And he's now over here. He brought his family. Esau went home this way, and he came across and came to a place called, we call it, how do you pronounce that? Somebody say this word for me. Shechem. That's how we say it. I remember being in Israel in, I don't remember when it was, 1999, I'm going to guess. And we were talking to some soldiers, and we were wanting to go to Shechem. And he looked at me, and he kind of wrinkled up his nose, and he goes, Shechem? I'm going, Shechem, you know, where Jacob came. And he talks to one of his other Israeli soldiers in Hebrew. And I hear these guys going back and forth, Shechem, 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 Shechem. He's, oh, Shechem, he says. That's how they pronounce it, Shechem. It's a one-syllable word, Shechem. Okay? Not Shechem. Let me show you, you're an English speaker if you say Shechem. Today it's called Nablus. Okay? But, so here's the land of Canaan, Jerusalem, Bethlehem up here, Hebron down there. There's Sheva. This is where Jacob started out from 20 years prior to that. Just to give you an idea. Because some of us are picture-oriented. I know I am. Does it help? Yeah. Not just saying names. So, okay, so we'll start with Jacob's family all grown up, and just 33, Steve, if you would, 18 to 20. We'll just finish up that chapter. This is how this portion starts out.
Then Jacob came safely to the city of Shechem.
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 Which is in the land of Canaan. When he came from Padan Aram, and he pitched his tent before the city. And he bought the parcel of land where he had pitched his tent from the children of Hamor, Shechem's father, for 100 pieces of money. Then he erected an altar there and called it El Elohe Israel.
Okay, so 3 little verses. Sounds pretty self-explanatory. Let's take a look. So first thing I want you to notice is he arrived safely. Jacob came safely to the city of Shechem, which was in the land of Canaan, and or Canaan, and when he came from Padan Aram. So safely, it's literally the, here, what's that? Vicky? Shalom. Actually it says Shalem, but it would be Shalem, but literally it's the word Shalom. And so Yaakov, Yavo, he came, Jacob came to the city of, safely to the city of Shechem, right here. There it is. There's Canaan right here. What's this word? Which is in the land of Eretz, which is in Asher, Eretz, Canaan, which is in the land of Canaan. Okay? So, but he got there safely. Did God not say he would bring him safely back? He would return him to the land? Yes, he did. Well, okay, so let's scoot forward about 3,500 years. Here is what modern day Shechem, or Shechem, looks like. Shechem literally means the neck, or between the shoulders, and it's a place of burdens, okay? So it's a city that was in the tribe of Manasseh later on. It's going to be located in the valley between Mount Ebal and Mount Gerizim. It's about 34 or 5 miles north of Jerusalem. And so here, Mount Gerizim is where the blessings were pronounced from, and Mount Ebal, where the curses were pronounced from. When Joshua brings them into the land, he's going to put half the tribes on this mountain and half the tribes on this mountain, and they're going to pronounce the blessings and the curses from the covenant. Blessings if you keep the covenant, curses if you don't. And they're going to be speaking to each other across this very valley right here. Which you can hear across really easy. So here's Mount Ebal. This is where up here on the top, somewhere up here in this area, is the big altar that Joshua built, and they wrote the covenant on that. It wasn't discovered until 1987, I think, or something like that, rediscovered. And Mount Gerizim. This is the mount where the curses were, and this is where the blessings are. And up here somewhere is where a lot of American Christians are going over and helping the Israelis with their grape harvest. They go over there and they put them up. People pay to go over there and work there, and they put them up and feed them, and they work all day long. They work for, I don't know, you can sign up for 2 weeks or 6 weeks or something like that.
And they don't whine about it?
And they
don't whine about it.
You don't whine about it. You just gotta love him, don't you? No, they don't whine about it. But this is actual prophecy coming true, and you will again plant vineyards in Samaria. And I know some people real well that have helped started that program and started bringing Ephraim, people like us, back to the land to help them do that. It's an amazing story. God is an amazing God. He's doing so much stuff that you don't even know anything about. You've never even heard of it. But you will someday, and he'll let us know. Okay, so at any rate, this today in modern day Israel, in your land, this is where Joseph's kids, Manasseh is Joseph's son, right? That's kind of who we're connected to. We weren't raised Jewish, but boy, we were sure raised from Joseph's people. So that's in the land of Manasseh, and it's the largest Palestinian city in all of Israel. 180,000 Palestinians are living right here. It's hugely dense, and you can't go in there by yourself. I mean, it's not like you can, oh, I think I'm just going to call up the Hilton in Shechem and go there. No. No, you won't. So here's, let me show you where the land is. If you can see, I don't know if you can from there, but this is the big valley between here. So here's Mount Ebal on the north, Mount Gerizim on the south, Mount of Blessing, Mount of Cursing, and this is like a great big dugout valley right here. And there's a road that goes right through there all the way over to the coast, and the road that goes right through here all the way to the north. And there they are. So Jacob becomes a landowner here in Canaan. He came safely, and he bought a parcel of land where he had pitched his tent from the children of Hamor. We'll talk about him quite a bit today. For 100 pieces of money. That's what it says. 100 pieces of money. So here's an overhead view of this valley, this big gouge, and where the Palestinians live. And it's about 1 mile across, and sure enough, you can hear the acoustics are so good that you could hear people talking from one side of the mountain to the other side of the mountain. So when the children of Israel and the tribes stood there and repeated the blessings and the curses, they heard one another. They heard one another.
The angle
acts as a natural amphitheater. So Mount Ebal is like about 3,000 feet high, and Mount Gerizim is 2,890 feet high. And there's a whole lot of contemporary accounts of people speaking from the slopes and being able to hear across the valley. Interesting. So at any rate, Jacob buys a piece of ground there from the children of Hamor. So it looks pretty good, right? He's got a solid footing there. He paid money for it. Hebron, I'm here to tell you that Hebron, Shechem, and Jerusalem, what do these three cities in Israel have in common? They're now cities in the occupied West Bank. However, the patriarchs bought land in each of these cities for an extreme amount of money. Abraham bought the field in Hebron, remember when Sarah died? He bought the whole, he didn't just buy the cave, he bought the whole field. Jacob buys this parcel in Shechem, and David, he bought a threshing floor and a field in Jerusalem. So David bought the threshing floor and the oxen for 50 shekels of silver, 2 Samuel 2:24, and David gave Ornan 600 shekels of gold by weight for the place in 1 Chronicles. So it's all documented here. Shechem is in Manasseh, Bethel is in Ephraim, Jerusalem is in Benjamin, and Hebron is in Judah. So they have all these pieces of ground here that And here they are on the map. Shechem is in Manasseh, Benjamin, and Hebron is in Judah. And here's Bethel. I don't know why I left Bethel off, but here's Bethel. That's in Ephraim's round. Okay? Alrighty. Jacob had come to Shechem lacking nothing. When he left, he didn't have anything. He only had the staff in his hand. God had supplied every need, including protection from his enemies, Laban's sons and Esau. And Jacob purchased grounds from the local a piece of land from the local authorities in Shechem. And moreover, Jacob built an altar there, and he called it El Elohe Israel, to the God of Israel. And what was his name? Israel. And what did he tell God when he left? If you bring me back safely, you will be my God. So he's building an altar, a memorial altar there to God. So it's the God of Israel. So, anyway, what could possibly go wrong, right? It looks like things are good. So far, so good, right? Well, we'll find out. The Bible provides us with, why did I put this in here? The Bible provides us with concrete evidence that the land belongs to the Israelis. You're holding the title deed in your hand. You're holding a copy of the title deed. Shechem, Jerusalem, Hebron. Okay? This is Israel, the 10 northern tribes up here, and this is Judah. So this is all in the contested area called the West, what the world calls the West Bank, what you and I call Samaria and Judea. Okay? So Israel was to be this set-apart people in the land of promise to the patriarchs, but first we're going to have to deal with a great offense of the defilement of Dinah, and the judgment that comes against the people of Shechem as a result of their prince's sin. Okay? Here's the word we're looking at here, anah, defilement. I'm going to tell you right now, this word does not mean rape. It's a different word. Okay? So once again, we have to kind of keep digging to see what it is that we're looking at. Okay? All right, Steve, let's go ahead and go 34, 1 through 7.
How do you pronounce her name?
Dinah.
Dinah? Dinah?
Or Dinah. Someone's in the kitchen with...
Oh, no.
I don't think it's the same. I don't think that's a song about her. But I think
Strumming on the old banjo.
Strumming on the old banjo. You should have brought your banjo today.
Dinah? Okay.
Means judgment. Her name means literally, her name means judgment. Yeah.
Dinah. All right. The Dinah incident. Now, Dinah, the daughter of Leah, whom she had borne to Jacob, went out to see the daughters of the land. And when Shechem, the son of Hamor, the Hivite, prince of the country, saw her, he took her and lay with her and violated her. His soul was strongly attracted to Dinah, the daughter of Jacob, and he loved the young woman and spoke kindly to the young woman. So Shechem spoke to his father Hamor, saying, "Get me this young woman as a wife." And Jacob heard that he had defiled Dinah, his daughter. Now his sons were with his livestock in the field. So Jacob held his peace until they came. Then Hamor, the father of Shechem, went out to Jacob to speak with him. And the sons of Jacob came in from the field when they heard it. And the men were grieved and very angry because he had done a disgraceful thing in Israel by lying with Jacob's daughter, a thing which ought not to be done. But Hamor spoke with them, saying...
Nope. We're going to stop right there at 7.
Okay.
All right, so these people living in Shechem right now are a bunch of villagers. Okay? They're Hivites, actually, and the Hivite means villagers. No, we're not supposed to do that. Okay. 6th generation of Canaan. 6 generations of Canaan, the son of Ham, have been living here in this area. Okay? Dinah, judgment, literally means she's the daughter of Jacob by Leah. She's the full sister. This becomes important here in a few minutes. She's the full sister of Simeon and Levi. She's the half-sister of Reuben, Judah, Issachar, and Zebulun. And she goes out to see the daughters of the land. Okay? I want you to know that about 10 years have gone by since they've lived there, since he bought the land, da-da-da-da-da. It didn't happen, next Tuesday. And so she goes out to see that she's 14. Do you have any, about 14, 15, 16 years old? She's not a little girl. She's grown up. She was born at Grandpa Laban's place. And she goes out to see the daughters of the land. How many of you have raised, remember what your 14-year-old daughter was like? Or granddaughter? They can be pills, They're wonderful. I'll say that, but they can be pills. And she went out to see the daughters of the land. Her dad is like 100 and something years old by now. He was about 97 when he came back there. So if we were to add 10 years to that, he's 107. I don't know, Jack, do you think maybe that's why he waited for his sons to come back? I mean, that's a very, every year when I go through this verse, it just makes me stumble, and what is the matter with you, Jacob? Why didn't you go out and kill somebody? Anyway, well, let's see. Shechem literally means neck. He's the Hivite priest. Hivite priest? Prince. Prince. And Hamor, his name literally means jackass. He's the prince's dad, okay? His name literally means jackass. I think it means that in Spanish. Is that right? Hamor is Spanish? Is that donkey, ass, something? No? Okay. Burro? Oh, you're too kind. Okay. All right.
What is it?
Burro.
Donkey.
I just want you to, so she's going out to see the daughters of the land. I don't know, maybe she was going shopping, or I don't know what she was doing. She's 14. And the prince sees her, and she's a beautiful girl, right?
Yeah.
So this is the wonderful thing of this book. A lot of times history books are written from the vantage point of the victor, right? God puts everything in the Bible. He tells us like it is, what's going on. He exposes everything. So he tells it like it is. And some stories in the Bible, in the biblical narrative, they just don't teach them in Sunday school. I mean, give me a break. The Bible's full of raw emotion and sin and jealousy and carnage and murder. Is that true? That's why a lot of people say the book is a book of violence. People who don't get it. If you wanted to whitewash the Bible, there wouldn't be much left to talk about. Let's just put it that way. Okay? But one thing for sure, in Mrs. Thompson's Sunday school class, at the First Baptist Church at the corner of 7th and Oak in the basement, okay, in the Sunday school class, while we don't necessarily shield children, while we don't necessarily shield children against the knowledge of moral dilemmas, it's a pretty good bet that your kids are not going to answer your question. So what did you learn in Sunday school today with? Well, we learned about Dinah being defiled. That's not going to be one of the stories they come home with. Okay? All right. Introducing Dinah. Dinah. She is the only daughter of Israel. Dinah is the first of his children to be given any details via a narrative in the Bible. She's the first one we have any details. He's got 12 kids, and Benjamin isn't even born yet. She's the first one we have any information on. And while on a visit to town, she's defiled by Shechem, the prince, a member of the ruling Canaanite family. But then then in a move not typical of rapists, which is why this is not rape, Shechem seeks to have her become his wife. It's not rape, it's defilement. So they got together and stuff happened, okay? And he loves her.
Susan, what kind of defile? Do they?
Well, they have intercourse.
Oh.
Yep,
well,
they do. I mean, yeah, it's not. He didn't force. Yeah.
She lured him.
She lured him. She was willing. It was a consensuous. It was a what do you call that? A consensuous. Well, it's not rape. Okay. I know.
Man, let's go.
But the Jacobs, I love it when I do that. I see, Vicki, help me. Because in Hebrew, when you put the word ha in front of a word, it means the. But we don't do that in English. But I continually finding myself putting the word the in English in front of a verb, a noun that doesn't need it. The Jacobs, I'm sorry. But Jacob's sons, Simeon and Levi, who are her full brothers, right, speak deceitfully to these, to the people of Shechem, okay? She's a beautiful girl, da-da-da-da-da, okay. So we don't really understand their culture. Let's just admit that now. And she went out to visit the daughters of the land. There's several years later, about 10, Jacob lets his daughter go into the city unprotected, unaccompanied. Shechem took her and defiled her. He took her and defiled her. In the Hittite culture, she was free game, if you will. But on the other hand, we're told of his intentions. That his intentions were honorable and he wanted to marry her. But he had to get permission. Okay. So Shechem was enamored, smitten, strongly attracted to Dinah. Okay. So he wants to know, so we're going to have the discussion, so how much for your daughter? How many camels? Okay. But just because his father is king, Shechem thinks he can do whatever to whomever he wants, including Dinah. This is why he said, this was a command. This is in the imperative form. He said to his dad, the prince says to the king, essentially, get me this damsel to wife. He said, gee, it's not like, gee, Dad, I really love her. She's really cute. And we made a mistake, da-da-da-da-da, but I really want to marry her. Would you please go and see what kind of a negotiation you can make for her? No, he's given his dad a command. Go get her. Get her for me. So then the father, Then the father went to Jacob to speak to him about acquiring Dinah for his son, the prince. Okay? And Jacob gets word of the defilement of his daughter, but he waits until his sons come home. He's passive. It's kind of like, Jacob? Super passive to somebody?
Extremely passive.
Extremely passive. That's not a you guys.
That's not a good reaction.
That's not a good that's not the kind of reaction an American dad would have these days, right?
Yeah, but he's waiting for his troops.
Yeah, he's 100 years old.
Yeah, he's 107. I know, so
He's got a hit that
and he's got a hip that doesn't work. You're right. You're right. He's kind of had a hip replacement, hasn't he? So he doesn't. He doesn't go out to find his son. He doesn't even bring it up to him. He doesn't send a messenger out. Nothing. He's just waiting for them to get home. Well, so after the son returns, Hamor comes to make a deal with Jacob to obtain Dinah for his spoiled son, Prince Shechem. Prince Shechem. Yeah, that's right. No apology. There's no apology. There's no remorse. There's no regret. Just another negotiation, of which we have seen several in the Genesis account already, right? The brothers stand back and listen to the bargaining, buying and selling of Jacob's daughter, their sister. It's like this guy is saying, name your price and we'll take her. And is Dinah becoming a bargaining chip for prosperity, for peace and safety? Ooh. Israel's always has gone through several segments of peace and safety. We'll give you this land if we can have peace, if you'll sign something here and we'll have peace and safety with us. You know, you won't come in and abuse our people.
She's just a bargaining chip.
She's a and okay. And that's one of the things we need to remember. That's one of the huge things that Yeshua made a big difference in society. When he came, he gave women status. Before that, they were chattel. They were who said a bargaining chip? Yeah, bargaining chip. That's what they were. They were bargaining chip. Yes, ma'am.
But even with when the 5 daughters of Zelophehad, they received parcels of land, but they did have to intermarry with their tribe. So there was some
But those were 5 women like you and I would be, Terry.
That's true.
We would not stand idly, passively by.
No.
And just let that happen, would we?
No.
We go, wait a minute.
That's right.
Wait a minute.
They said, we deserve this.
I witnessed sideline. I witnessed my daughter this last week, who had to have eye surgery over the last month for glaucoma. And while she was doing that, she's in the midst of things changing around at her work. And the overseers, two men, overseers and have her future in their hands, said, well, we've decided that we're going to da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, we're going to reduce your pay by 25%. Oh! So I was in on the prayer part of this negotiation, da-da-da-da-da-da, and kind of listening, not telling her what to do, but counseling, whatever. I used to be a realtor. I know how this works, you know. And I said, you know, so at any rate, bump it up, and it took 2 weeks. It was 2 weeks of just waiting. And, you know, the first guy that talks loses, right? And she did. She called me up, the night before last, and she said, Mom, I did it. We got it. And so she's keeping her job. They've apologized. They've brought her pay back up to where she was before. Praise God. You know, God is good. But doggone it,
think they could change it?
because she was a woman, and this is a guy, and she was sick, and she wasn't there. And it's a guy's, yeah.
So it's also a matter of strength and weakness. They'll do it to guys too. If you think he's a little nerdy guy.
Yeah. Well, my daughter's not a my daughter is not a little nerdy girl, nor is her mother. You know. Yeah. So at any rate, but not a good story. It was a good story. God is good. God is very good. Okay, so she's not bargaining chip. So question. So this was my question. I think I asked it a little few minutes ago. Shechem is the neighbor who had his way with Dinah. Is that worse, or Jacob, Dinah's father, who doesn't do anything? We never look at this part, do we?
Pretty equal.
We never look at that part, but there's culpability here on both sides. At any rate, so this harkened back to Rebecca said to Isaac, this is all the way back in 27, Rebecca said to Isaac, so this is a generation ago, I'm disgusted with living because of these Hittite women. If Jacob takes a wife from among the women of this land, from the Hittite women like these, my life will not be worth living. Okay? This relates to this situation because these guys, they're not Hittite, they're Hivite, but they're still from the Canaanites. Okay? They're all cousins. Very interesting. Wait till you get to the end of this. The Hittite and the Hittite, there you go. Hittite and Hivite are all Canaanite. Okay. So Jacob's family, they're all grown up. Let's go. Hamor comes to Jacob and his sons and sues for peace. Let's see what happens between verses 8 to 17, Steve. 34, 8 to 17.
But Hamor spoke with them, saying, the soul of my son Shechem longs for your daughter. Please give her to him as a wife, and make marriages with us. Give your daughters to us, and take our daughters to yourselves. So you shall dwell with us, and the land shall be before you. Dwell and trade in it, and acquire possessions for yourselves in it. Then Shechem said to her father and her brothers, let me find favor in your eyes, and whatever you say to me, I will give. Ask me ever so much dowry and gift, and I will give according to what you say to me. But give me the young woman as a wife. But the sons of Jacob answered Shechem and Hamor his father and spoke deceitfully, because he had defiled Dinah, their sister. And they said to them, we cannot do this thing to give our sister to one who is uncircumcised, for that would be a reproach to us. But on this condition we will consent to you. If you will become as we are, if every male of you is circumcised, then we will give our daughters to you, and we will take your daughters to us, and we will dwell with you, and we will become one people. But if you will not heed us and be circumcised, then we will take our daughters and be gone.
Take our daughter, and be gone.
Our daughter
and be gone.
Sorry.
That's okay.
I wanted to see if you were paying attention.
I know, I was. I wore my Connect the Dot socks today, my new Connect the Dot socks, because we're trying to connect some dots here. So Shechem is this rich young guy. So what happened to Dinah? We don't really ever hear about her again, but without giving any details of where she was or how it happened, the Bible simply says that Shechem, the son of the local ruler, took hold of her and had sexual intercourse with her. I mean, it's very plain that that's exactly what happened. So what I wanted to point out here, and here's our two, they're pigeons, right? Witnesses? Yeah, our two pigeon witnesses. And what words, other words sound familiar? We're looking for words here. So there was a sea in verses 2 and verses 8. There was a seeing, he saw, he desired, and he took. Okay? And here's the Hebrew words, ra'ah, kasak, and lakak. Lakak, take. Okay? Seeing, desiring, and taking. Just as there was the forbidden fruit in the Garden of Eden, where the whole pattern for sin had begun. And I'll remind you right here. This is back to Genesis 3, verse 6. When the woman saw that the fruit of the tree was good for food and pleasing to the eye and also desirable, right here, for gaining wisdom, she took some and ate it. And she also gave some to her husband who was with her, and he ate it. Okay, we just connected some dots. That makes sense? We have a pattern. We have oh, shut up, Susan, keep going. Here, just a minute, we'll get there. We'll get there. Shechem, he's determined to get what he wants. That's what people are, pretty much. We're all determined to get what we want, and we always seem to be in some kind of a negotiation with somebody until we get what it is that we want, right? We're always negotiating for something. Doesn't matter if it's a paycheck or if it's the last piece of chocolate cake on the plate or something, you know, right? Shechem is just, he's thinking in terms of lust, and then Shechem said to her father, let me find favor in your eyes, and whatever you say to me, I will give it. That's what Shechem wants. Whatever the cost is, I want her for a wife. Yes, ma'am?
How old was Shechem?
Well, we don't, he's the prince. I don't know how old he was. It doesn't give us an age for him. He was a man. I don't know. We know that Jacob is 100 and something, and
Dinah's 14.
And Dinah's 14. He could be a young man. You know, I don't know. Ask me however much dowry, I'll give it. Jacob's sons are thinking in terms of revenge. So Shechem is thinking in terms of lust, and these guys are thinking, how can we get even with this guy? Okay? Not all of his sons. Two. Which two sons is it? Levi, her full brother, okay? And they said to them, we cannot do this thing to give our sister to one who is uncircumcised, for that would be a reproach to us. But on this condition, if you guys all agree to be circumcised, everybody in your town, talk about setting up a sting. No pun intended. Ow, I'm sorry. But a few minutes ago, as Steve was reading this, the Lord said, think of this. I mean, so here's a new aha. Up until this point in time, circumcision was the only part of the covenant that had been given to them. Right?
Yeah.
Now, they don't have any Mosaic stuff going on yet. They don't have any of that stuff going on, the fine details of what's going to be involved in the covenant. That doesn't come until hundreds of years later, 200 and some odd years later. Right now, it's about, I'm going to give you the land and I want you to be circumcised. He cut the animals, and the guys had to had to do a little cut too. That was their part of the shedding of blood. Okay? That makes sense?
Yeah.
Okay. That was their part.
But they were only 8 days older. So.
But they were only 8. They're right. That's exactly right.
Abraham wasn't. He was 100.
Abraham was 100.
Why you don't know?
His son was 13, I think. So
Now I think that maybe Jacob sent these little
little girl there, pretending that she didn't know, to provoke all this and bring all the people to the law, you know,
To bring them to where?
to the law.
Bring them?
Circumcised, do it this way, and so.
Well, these are the, wait, but this is not Jacob making this thing. This is the boys making this thing. This is the boys making the deal. Okay? This is the boys involved in the negotiation, not Jacob. Okay? So, well, but you might be right. I'll hold that loosely in one hand. Maybe this is what the dad and the boys taught. But they know that they weren't. Here's the thing: they knew that they, at least from their dad, that they weren't to take a wife for the sons of these guys from the Canaanites, right? Right. So at any rate, which becomes an interesting conundrum here in a few minutes. But anyway, all right. Let's see what kind of a deal Hamor makes. Let's do. Have we done this?
No.
8 to 17? Yes, we have.
Yes, we did.
Oh, stop.
Yeah.
Yeah, keep going.
Okay, let me see. Hang on. Hamor is the father. He's going to commune. I love that word. That must be King James. Commune with him. They have a talk. Chapter 34 is all about flesh. Jacob shows a distinct lack of outrage here. He seemed to take the defilement of his daughter, of his only daughter, easily. That makes me very uncomfortable. His refusal to do what is right in regard to his family will encourage two of his sons to do something ungodly in response. Okay? And in this culture, brothers had a greater responsibility to protect their sister than the father did. That was part of their culture thing, which is part of in the Middle Eastern culture today. You can't a woman like let's go to the streets of Iran today. A woman cannot walk down the street unless she's totally covered up, and she's being accompanied by her brother or her father.
Well, maybe that explains why he didn't do anything about it.
But Susan, why did she go out by herself? Why did Jacob allow her to go out by herself?
See, those are the questions that we don't have the answers to. Yeah.
But didn't Leah go out to check on the daughters?
Leah was a shepherd. Yeah, she did. You're right. Leah was a shepherd.
She was in her own country and she did the things were not the same.
Yeah, we can't compare that culture necessarily to the Muslim culture of today, but the Muslim culture of today is just totally bananas, the legalistic side and the stuff, religious side. Yes, ma'am.
I found out, just like she might not have known, I didn't know when I went to Honduras that a woman didn't walk out on Sunday. It seems to me a perfect time because all the families were supposed to be inside. And that's what I was told. And so when I walked out down the street to go to the post office, or whatever it was, just blank where it was, I was moved there, I got all kinds of whistles and calls and whatever you want to call them. And I thought, man, they defiled. And so that's a defilement also. And so she didn't know any better.
Right. So that's.
He knew better. I mean, that was their culture.
And in our
on the streets on Sunday afternoon, when the families are supposed to be at home, you're fair game.
Yep. So it's like going to the fair, and the bang, 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 the ducks that are going. Anyway, this is how we interpret this situation. This is a very typical picture, modern day picture that families take to now. One sister, don't ever mess with her, say the brothers. Right? And I don't know, brothers, you just gotta love them, I think. Anyway. Okay, but so the sons of Jacob answered Shechem and Hamor and his father, and they spoke deceitfully. This is an important word. They spoke deceitfully, verse 13, because he had defiled Dinah, their sister. But they spoke back. They didn't come back with justice. And the word is mirma. There it is, mirma. The sense of deceiving, fraud, craft, deceit. Ramah comes out of that. Can you see Ramah? This is the name of a big city in Palestine. Ramah, it's right here. Here, see it? This is the meme in front of a word means from. It's a preposition that means from by itself. From deceit. So, okay. Causing to fall, beguile, betray. That's exactly where Yasser Arafat had his close this down here. Okay. Shechem is going to step into the negotiations, whatever it takes. I want her, whatever it takes, whatever it costs. I want it, I want it, I want it. He'll pay the bride price and much more. Hamor, the jackass guy, the dad, he's thinking the big picture. He would be glad to solidify the political alliance between such a powerful and rich man as Jacob. That's how Shechem and Hamor saw Jacob at this point in time. Guy's been there for 10 years. He came with all this stuff. We sold him land for a lot of money. 100 pieces of money back in those days was a lot of money. And he's just nothing but wealthy. So he's going, how can we just work this to our advantage here, right? And Jacob's sons, specifically Simeon and Levi, they're willing to deceive them into thinking that they would go along with this grand scheme of assimilation. There's a lot going on here in this chapter. And all they're asking is that they accept circumcision as a condition for the deal. And Shechem has said, I'll pay anything. Right? I'll pay anything, including his circumcision and the circumcision of every guy in his town. And I imagine the guys went, I don't know, but ouch. For you? Yeah, but I want it, and he's going. So Shechem agrees and gets all the men in the city to do the same thing. I'm sure that there was some kind of benefit. So when Simeon and Levi returned, we haven't gotten there yet. Where did we stop at, Steve?
17.
I'm ahead of myself. Go ahead. Go 18 to 24.
And their words pleased Hamor and Shechem, Hamor's son. So the young man did not delay to do the thing, because he delighted in Jacob's daughter. He was more honorable than all the household of his father. Wow. And Hamor and Shechem his son came to the gate of their city and spoke with the men of their city, saying, These men are at peace with us. Therefore, let them dwell in the land and trade in it. For indeed, the land is large enough for them. Let us take their daughters to us as wives, and let us give them our daughters. Only on this condition will the men consent to dwell with us, to be one people. If every male among us is circumcised as they are circumcised, will not their livestock, their property, and every animal of theirs be ours? Only let us consent to them, and they will dwell with us. And all who went out of the gate of the city heeded Hamor and Shechem his son. Every male was circumcised, all who went out of the gate of his city.
Look at that, verse 23. Will not their livestock and their property and every animal of theirs be ours?
Or be open to trade.
Wow.
We're going to open up a world trade center here, right? All we have to do is have all the guys in our town be circumcised. Wow. Wow. Okay. I think I jumped ahead. Deceit has its price. Here's Jerusalem. Here's Bethlehem, Jerusalem, about 5 miles. Here's Ramah, about 5 miles north. Here's Bethel, and then Shechem is right up about here. If you were to take us 18 to 24, then I'll catch up with myself, Steve. I'm sorry, I apologize. It's my bad. 18 to 24.
I just read that.
Oh, you just read that? Mm-hmm. Oh, good. Good. Then we're
Now you can catch up.
We caught up. So it's a political marriage. And the words pleased Hamor and Shechem, Hamor's son, and he's delighted in his daughter. Jacob's daughter. That takes pleasure in, to delight in, to desire, to be pleased, to do. You shall no longer be termed forsaken. This is in Isaiah. For nor shall your land anymore be termed desolate. For you shall be called Hephzibah. In your land, Beulah. For the Lord delights in you, and your land shall be married. So it's the same word that here that Shechem is using to talk about Dinah. So he has a peace plan, and he sells it to the guys and all the men of the city, and oh my goodness. So a deal is struck, and the young man did not delay. Beyond the obviously deep attraction Shechem has for Dinah, they were also undoubtedly pleased to begin to marry into a family so large and wealthy and influential. It's downright, I can't wait to get here. So get here, help me get there, 25 to 31.
Now it came to pass on the third day, when they were in pain, that two of the sons of Jacob, Simeon and Levi, Dinah's brothers, each took his sword and came boldly upon the city and killed all the males. And they killed Hamor and Shechem his son with the edge of the sword, and took Dinah from Shechem's house and went out. The sons of Jacob came upon the slain and plundered the city because their sister had been defiled. They took their sheep, their oxen, and their donkeys, what was in the city and what was in the field, and all their wealth. All the little ones and their wives they took captive, and they plundered even all that was in the houses. Then Jacob said to Simon and Levi, "You have troubled me by making me obnoxious among the inhabitants of the land, among the Canaanites and the Perizzites. And since I am few in number, they will gather themselves together against me and kill me. I shall be destroyed, my household and I." But they said, "Should he treat our sister like a harlot?"
Wow. What a place to end this chapter. Really. Do all the men of Shechem agree to circumcision? Yes, they do. And all who went out of the gate of the city. All the men, or all the men who went out of the gate. What do you think? I think they all agreed, because this was going to be a huge financial windfall for them, so they thought. The two brothers didn't think so. On the third day. Isn't this when on the third day after Abraham was circumcised that God came to visit him? Remember? Way back in the tent? Mm-hmm. Right before he destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah? Same thing. Came to pass on the third day, the two sons of Jacob, Simeon and Levi, Dinah's brothers, each took his sword and came boldly upon the city and killed all the males. Not all 12 guys, or 11 brothers, but these two did. We wonder why Simeon and Levi were not in line even for the patriarchal blessing from Jacob. Jacob is really upset with these guys. Simeon, I'll remind you, he winds up with no land in the land. He just is absorbed by Judah. And Levi, everybody think, well, he gets to be the high priest. He gets to be the priestly family. I'll remind you that the Levites are going to bear I'm quoting the Bible, "You will bear the iniquity of Israel all the days." Every day. Priestly families, they didn't get vacation. The Levites, every day, morning, noon, and night, 7 days a week. They were there preparing the sacrifices.
And they were spread out. They weren't all in one area.
They didn't have any land. They were spread out. That's true. Very interesting.
But Sue, it's very interesting that they say that Shechem was more honorable.
More honorable.
Than his brothers. So what were his brothers like?
That's a really good question. That's a really good question. Third day, they entered the city boldly. It's the word batak. It's the same word that the soldiers, Israeli soldiers use today when they're about to attack somewhere. Jacob gets very angry. But they're saying, but should he treat our sister like? Look at the blood. This is nasty.
Seems like he got more upset about them doing what they did than Dinah and all that.
He's not real concerned about Dinah yet. He has not given any words of concern about Dinah yet. None. I don't know, that still bothers me. To this day, that bothers me.
I think that's why they were like treating her sister like a harlot, because
weren't saved.
Yeah, exactly. You're going to let them treat her like a harlot. I don't know.
Maybe that's just left it up to his son.
We might be tempted, huh?
He might have left the negotiations up to his son.
He might have, because he's getting older. I don't know. We might be tempted to place the blame upon Dinah. After all, she had gone out from her family and willingly placed herself in the company of idolaters. Okay, or we could, if you're asking your own kid, why did you sneak out of your bedroom on Friday night? Right? I didn't have that problem with my kids, but maybe a lot of people do. Anyway, Dinah had acted foolishly by despising the protection of her family and her community. But Dinah's foolish choices, because how many of you ever made a foolish choice? Dinah's foolish choices in no way diminish the guilt of Shechem. So we discover that God's laws of morality are pretty much universal. Okay? Hello. That's the phone. That's the phone Bob didn't lose in Denver this week. An angel brought it back to him. Anyway, but Dinah's actions could be taken as a clear warning to all of us. If our hearts desire to be like the world, and we seek the company and acceptance of those who have no regard for God's righteous ways, then we should not be surprised if we are treated unjustly. Right? If we accept the ways of the world, we will fall prey to the ways of the world. If you're going to play with the world, you're going to be subject to the world's ways. Shechem's words of kindness to Dinah were after the fact. We didn't hear about him courting her, bringing her flowers and sending her. No. Many women's hearts have been swayed by kind words, only to discover later that the true heart of the man is entirely opposite of how he had initially presented himself. And that's sad. So, this clan justice and strategy, there were no recognized civil courts. So this is all subject to something called the blood avenger. Okay? So this is part of their culture, so we have to grab hold of this, in which a family member was given the right to enact justice upon one who violated the life of a relative. You remember seeing cowboy programs and movies, in the Wild West before they were a state, they didn't have any courts, and they would just go, they would call them vigilantes. It's the same word as blood avenger. They would take law into their own hands. That's the nice thing about America. We're supposed to be a country of laws. And today we have a lot of people who have been elected to office who are taking laws into their own hands, are they not? And trying to twist them around. They're leasing them, right, Dolores? And twisting them around. But Dinah's brother's way of seeking justice against Shechem was totally wrong. They used deception. It was wrapped in the cloak of making a covenant that they did not intend to keep. They had no intention of, you guys get circumcised and then we'll intermarry with you. They didn't do that. They must have reasoned that though Shechem alone was guilty of crime, to bring him to justice would surely incur the wrath of the Shechemites and initiate war. So they figured, if we don't have any men in Shechem, then there won't be any war with Shechem. Jacob, on the other hand, was thinking bigger picture. He knew that these Canaanites were spread all over the land, and there was cousins all up and down the prairie, if you will. Okay. So Jacob knew he couldn't stay, and that retaliation from the neighbors would soon be upon them. There were a lot of descendants of Canaanites, sons of Ham. God tells it, and we'll get into this next week, but God tells him to arise, go up to Bethel, and dwell there, and make an altar there to God, who appeared to you when you fled from the face of Esau, your brother. So this is getting messy. So I have a question. I think I have a question. They've been there for 10 years. They picked up some souvenirs. Jacob commands that they put away their let's go ahead and read this 8 verses in chapter 35. That'll take care of my question. Yep, chapter 35, first 8 verses, and then we're done. Yep. I can't go there without going through this.
Then God said to Jacob, "Arise, go to Bethel, and dwell there, and make an altar there to God, who will appear to you when you fled from the face of Esau your brother." And Jacob said to his household and to all who were with him, "Put away the foreign gods that are among you. Purify yourselves and change your garments. Then let us arise and go up to Bethel, and I will make an altar there to God, who answered me in the day of my distress, and has been with me in the way which I have gone." So they gave Jacob all the foreign gods which were in their hands, the earrings which were in their ears, and Jacob hid them under the terebinth tree, which was by Shechem. And they journeyed, and the terror of God was upon the cities that were around them. And they did not pursue the sons of Jacob. So Jacob came to Luz, that is Bethel, which is in the land of Canaan, he and all the people who were with him. And he built an altar there and called the place El Bethel, because there God appeared to him, and he fled of his brother. Now Deborah, Rebekah's nurse, died. She was buried below Bethel under the terebinth tree. So the name of it was called Elon Bakuth.
Okay, so that's the end of our portion today, and I'll just start with verse 8, and don't ask me why that's even in there. Deborah, the nurse of Rebekah, I mean, that's going back an entire generation, not Rachel, Rebekah, who came with who came with Rebekah to the land. Yes, ma'am?
But it doesn't say that Rachel put her God
No,
down from father.
yeah, hang on just a second. Okay. Did Rachel. So, she got it, yeah. So they changed their clothing. He's not just talking about his family. Jacob now has acquired all these other people, the women and the children from Shechem, right? From the town of Shechem, because all the men are dead. Now he's got women and children. He's going, oy vey. Oy vey. So he says, okay, this is leadership. This is what we're going to do. I want you guys to bring me all your idols, because we're not going to do that. You're not going to worship these gods anymore. I want you to change your clothes, change your garments, and purify yourselves. And tomorrow we're going to head out of here, right? So they changed their clothing, they buried their idols, they purified themselves, and they got rid of all the pagan idolatry. Jacob, he buried them. He buried them in the ground under a terebinth tree there at Shechem, which might be why it's so crazy up at Shechem today. Who knows? But it's a very good question. Did Rachel? And next week, I think, is when we're going to find out that Rachel dies in childbirth, because out of Jacob's own mouth, a few years before, he said, whoever has Laban's gods will die. Mm-hmm. Right? Yeah. Okay. Now here's my question for you guys. And this occurs to me this morning, going, oh. My question is, who are the women that Jacob's other sons married? So I went looking on the internet for this. Because they're small, they're a family, they're a wealthy family, but they're boys that are growing up. They don't have anybody's married yet. I'm wondering if those boys didn't marry the women from Shechem. Yeah. And those are the wives, and we're all the descendants of all these people, which is why, just shows you how big God is in the scheme of things. So I went looking, and I'm asking Google, and I got taken to some rabbinic sources, and here's what the rabbis say. Are you ready for this? Because the rabbis will put things in light where, as though they were writing the history books and everything comes out good. Okay? I mean, God bless them, and there's an awful lot of good things to learn from the rabbis. I don't mean that. But here's what the rabbis say. You ready? I had never heard this before. The rabbis say, and this is a long, old midrash. The rabbis say that all of those brothers, they were all twin births, a boy and a girl. They were all twin births, and that all of those brothers, the other brothers, married one of the twins. So that, see, it keeps it all in the bloodline of Jacob. Huh? Well, like Abraham married his sister, and they had different mothers but the same father, that type of thing. They didn't marry directly brother-sister, but now that's what the rabbis say. And the other opinion is, that the rabbis don't say, is that sure enough, these guys married women from this group of people, the widows of this group of people.
They were widows.
Doesn't that not make, I mean, somehow that just kind of went click and went, okay, that's how this whole family of Israel and Jacob, and no wonder the guys got so much trouble. Right? Because we don't have, you can't find a wife's name of any of these guys, except for Judah, when he marries Tamar, which is winds up being his own daughter-in-law. I mean, it's just weird, you know?
They all ended up in...
Well, Joseph's wife, but she's from Egypt. What?
They all ended up in Kentucky.
And they all ended up in, well, I know, but let's just, the two women that we know Joseph's wife, who was an Egyptian, right? And we know Judah's wife, who was a Canaanite. And the rest of them we don't know. So it just kind of all makes sense why we're all this, God's just pulling out of the pool of humanity to bring forth his redemption for us. Because it's all he's got to work with, because guess what? We're his creation. So next time you look in the mirror, you're combing your hair going, yep, God did a pretty good job on you, you know? He did. He loves you. And so let's give him all that we have to give, right?
And the interesting thing is that Simeon and Levi ended up with the livestock that the Hagar and Shechem said, well, we'll get all of Jacob's livestock.
Yeah.
So it was reversed.
It was reversed. The whole thing is reversed and is crazy, and we'll leave it at that because look at that. It's 1 minute to 1. Yay. Okay. So we'll stop right there. Yes, sir.
The thing we do many times in the Bible is read through some of these things.
Yeah.
Those two guys went in and slaughtered the town.
That's what it says. Yep.
And all that blood and stuff. Well, in that hot desert, and all those dead people, and all that blood, we got to think about what that scene was and how will people do that in their head. With that type of attitude that the Islamic people,
Yeah.
I mean, that's the attitude they have. It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
But we got to think about it because there's many people who have experienced that. But they've come back from war and stuff. They don't understand. They've seen that.
They've seen that. It's nothing new to them, and we are very sanitary in how we do things. I mean, you know, you sneeze and you go and wash your hands with soap and water, right? I mean, it's that kind of thing. I remember several years ago, it wasn't all that many years ago, 10 years ago or something, there was some big rise up in Shechem, and these guys had killed a couple of Israeli soldiers. And they were going crazy. And the Islamic guys were just showing their bloody hands from the second floor or something. Oh, we got them, you know. And they were showing off and it was sickening. And anybody remember them? Those images went just across flooded the news. It was terrible. And like you say, then to them, that's the way it is. That's what you do. That's not God's way.
We don't understand that, man.
No, that's true.
That's serious stuff.
That's serious stuff.
You can wash your hands, you can wash your clothes, you can do all these things. But what about the head?
But
what about the brain? What about the...
That's the one thing. So God keeps coming back and saying that should make this very important to us, and it should make sense to us. God says, "I am the Lord your God. There are no other gods but me." Okay, that, you know, then we don't be entertaining all these other things, because we can go off and you can make a football team a god. You can make we can make gods out of a lot of things. He's the only one. And we're going to stop it there. Go ahead, Dolores. I'm going to shut the microphone off.